Aloha, folks, and welcome to this edition of Five Questions, a very special edition because it is 5 questions with our candidates. And this conversation will appear on the homepage of HawaiiReporter.com and, of course, right here on KHVH Radio. We're delighted to get together with U.S. Senate candidate Ed Case, who is a candidate in the Democrat primary. And, Ed, thanks for taking the time today. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Rick, and thank you so much for having me back on. Aloha to all of the listeners. A big reminder that August 11th is a crucial day for Hawaii in terms of choosing the folks that are going to go into the general election. And, of course, I'm in the Democratic primary, and in our system, everybody can vote in the Democratic primary. So I appreciate the chance to talk to everybody.
Well, it's our pleasure, too, Ed. I'm going to jump in with the obvious question. And, again, we have a 10-minute segment together. Why do you want to serve as a U.S. Senator, Ed?
Well, let me say, first of all, that the only race I'm in right now is the race against Mazie Hirono, who is also in the Democratic primary for me, and I'm definitely focusing on that. But I want to serve as Hawaii's next United States Senator because I believe that our country and our Hawaii need strong, effective leadership in Washington, leadership that will solve the challenges that we face in Hawaii and in our country really over the next generation, because I do believe that the likelihood is that our next U.S. Senator will serve or could serve well for a generation. And so, therefore, this is a very crucial and important choice for the folks in Hawaii to decide who can step up to the plate and help Hawaii in Congress generally and in the Senate specifically, not just as taking over for Senator Akaka, but, of course, during that generation also becoming senior senator and taking over for Senator Inouye. And I also believe that our country needs national leadership. And I believe that any United States senator who is not willing, able, and committed to providing national leadership on the great issues of our day, not just today, but down into the next generation, if you're not willing to take that job, don't apply for the job. And I hope the voters don't put that kind of person in that job. So from our perspective, it's about providing that leadership. It's about bringing the knowledge and values that I have for Hawaii and our country up to the Senate, and trying to get the job done for all of us down through the years.
Ed, what really differentiates yourself from Mazie Hirono?
Well, there's a couple of things that differentiate us. First of all is just basic political philosophy. Mazie Hirono is ranked in the far left 1% to 2% of all members of Congress. In other words, if you take 435 members of Congress and judge their voting records on a scale of 0 being the most liberal, to 435 being the most conservative, Mazie is ranked at number 6 out of 435. Now, that's not at all the mainstream of our state, our country, or even my Democratic Party, for that matter. That's fringe. And I'm not. I'm a moderate. I think I would describe myself as a moderate independent Democrat. And I think that I'm far more mainstream. I am mainstream in both my party and in Hawaii. And that translates into actual decisions on the national scale. It also translates into the ability to get things done in Washington, because if you consider 98 to 99% of your fellow senators as having the wrong solution, pretty tough for you to solve any problems. Another thing that differentiates us, to be blunt about it, is that Mazie comes out of the political culture of Hawaii, the Democratic machine, if you want to put it that way, and she is the choice of that machine. She is heavily funded by that machine, and they want her in there because they can control her. And I don't come out of that machine, never have, never will. My funding does not come from the machine. It comes from the folks of Hawaii that want change. And that gives me a certain independence in this race and going up to Washington to try to get things done. Third area, I have served for 30 years in the business community, aside from my political career. So I'm not a career politician. I have had a very long and successful career in the business community, including including managing both of the businesses that I've worked for. So that's an experience set that tells me how to grow an economy, and Mazie has none of that. And then finally, my commitment to keeping in touch with my constituents back home, I think has already been proven in my record as a congressperson with my 172 talk stories and other efforts, and that's just something Mazie hasn't considered important.
We're talking with Ed Case. It's Candidate 5 Questions here on KHVH Radio and on the homepage of HawaiiReporter.com. And Ed, we have just about 5.5 minutes remaining. So I'd like to ask you what the greatest challenge is that's facing Hawaii, and conversely, challenge facing our nation. If they intersect, fine, but What do you identify as those two critical areas?
Well, there's one greatest challenge that really transcends both, and that is growing our economy. The fact of the matter is that over the next quarter century, the next generation, we have tremendous challenges and opportunities both in Hawaii and on the national scale. On the national level, we obviously have to grow an economy over time and to really readjust some of the foundations that have built our America to where it is today. From my perspective, that's about a couple of factors, and I call them the 4 T's, and all of this is on my website at www.edcase.com. On the national level, I think we have to focus on tax reform. I think the tax system that has grown up over the last 25 years has become counterproductive to economic productivity. I think we have to focus on technology at the national level because I think that's a good, solid industry that we excel in today and can excel in down through the generation. I think trade is very important in terms of international trade. That's something that differentiates me very much from Maisie, who doesn't really believe in international trade. And then finally, training and education, that's core. And we have to do those 4 things to grow our national economy as well as balance our budget. In Hawaii, we have to focus on maintaining the industries that we do well here. Those would be tourism and our military here and agriculture, but also look for new industries such as technology, which can thrive in Hawaii. Education as an industry, you look at somewhere like UH Hilo, which has made that an economic driver of the Big Island, not just an area to educate our children. Healthcare fits into the same category. But it's got to be the economy. It's going to be the economy. It has to be the economy going down the road.
Talking with Ed Case, and Ed, thank you very much because we have just about 4 minutes remaining. But I'd like to ask you this. In the recent debate with Maisie Hirono, a question came up about greatest accomplishments of which both of you were proud of during your service. And you had mentioned the North Hawaiian Island Preserve, and I had questions arise on our morning show to ask if you would simply clarify again your precise involvement all the way from the genesis of the bill to where it came to fruition. What was your role in that?
The genesis of the bill was the day that I was first elected to Congress in November of 2002, and I was flying up to Washington, D.C., and I was looking at a map of the Pacific, and I saw the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands, and I knew that they were there, and I knew that they were part of Hawaii, but it suddenly occurred to me that if they were part of Hawaii, then they were represented by a congressman. So I landed in D.C. and asked my staff, my new staff, my very first question was, hey, who represents the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands? And they said, well, you do, Congressman. So I took a very personal interest in the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands, which are, of course, one of the most pristine areas of our entire world from a marine environment perspective, and they are endangered. And I took a personal interest in trying to provide for a level of preservation that would maintain them in their natural state forever. And that led me to work with people both within the administration and Congress and back at home to try to decide what we could do to preserve the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands. And that led me to actually draft, personally with some help, a bill that would actually provide for that level of protection for the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands. And that bill was picked up within the administration because I had made friends within the administration of President Bush, who was not a particularly environmentally friendly president, but he and his wife, Laura, had taken an interest in marine environmental protection, and they were intrigued by the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands. And so I worked with the folks in his administration, his environmental advisor and others in NOAA and elsewhere, to try to get the overall program into shape so that it could actually be implemented. We were really on a dual track. One was in Congress, and one was within the administration, where President Bush did have the executive power to designate it as a national marine monument, as had other presidents such as Teddy Roosevelt. And I think, and essentially, at the end of the day, what happened was President Bush just decided to do it. And so, from my perspective, it was drafting the bill, it was advancing it in Congress, it was working in the administration itself to sell the bill, to identify the alternatives, and to really provide cover in some ways for the administration to do this. After all, I was the congressman from the district. And I was very proud that he actually ultimately enacted it, now known as the Papahanaumokuakea National Marine Monument, the largest in our country.
Ed, we want to thank you very much for joining us. Have about half a minute remaining. If you'd like to use that time to invite folks to support you, and where's the best place they can find you to do that?
I deeply appreciate your listeners listening again. Again, August 11th, Democratic primary. Anybody can vote. The question in the Democratic primary is which of me and Mazie Hirono should move on to the general to face Linda Lingle. I think that would be a great choice in the general. Linda is not going to avoid debating me. We've already agreed to debates across the state. And you can reach me at www.edcase.com. Information there, agendas there, records there, and a way to reach me there.
Ed, I can't thank you enough. We do appreciate it. I know our listeners and the readers of HawaiiReporter.com appreciate you coming on board with us. We wish you well and can't wait till the next time.
Okay, thanks so much, Rick. Aloha.
Aloha to you, Ed. Bye now.